Hey everybody. We're going to give this just a minute. This chat is going crazy. So just let me get my bearings here. I just wanted to say if anyone is having trouble, like they can hear me but you can't see me, refresh your screen. That usually starts. It's just a minute. There we go. This chat is going crazy. So just let me get my bearings here. And I have to turn my sound off. Okay. Oh, this is wonderful. It looks like everything is working. Okay, that means we're ready to go. Okay, Mark, I'm ready. Good evening to you all and welcome to Sharpen Your Knife Knowledge. I am Chef Laura Bonicelli of the Bonicelli Cooking Club, and I am so thrilled that we have had so many people sign up for this event. Last I looked, it was over 100, like way over 100. So we are going to be talking tonight about the most used and essential kitchen tool in any kitchen, the knife. And we promise you are going to walk away with a lot of knife knowledge because we have a knife expert. And this will be fun, and you may even win a prize. We have Maddie Jensen of Eversharp Kitchen Store waiting in the virtual wings, but first I want to do a little housekeeping. So if you have sound but don't have a picture, try refreshing your screen. That usually solves most problems. And please put your full name into the chat and say hi. And I can see it's going crazy, so everyone's doing that. Thank you. That is important because that is how we are going to know you are here, and that's how you'll get your name into the drawing for our prizes. So we are going to be collecting names all during the presentation, and we'll announce the winners at the end. So if you stay all the way to the end, or you can't stay all the way to the end, which is of course unthinkable, but if you really can't, put your name in anyway, and don't worry, we'll notify you when we send out the recording. We have over 30, well, no, we have 30, exactly 30 giveaways. So the chance of winning is something like 1 in 3. So I am here with Mark, in my kitchen. This is, Mark is our technician and my husband, and he is behind a computer and board over there. And we have Mary working remotely, managing our chat. We do all of our filming and live video for the cooking club here in our actual kitchen. So I'm going to briefly tell you about me, and I know many of you know me, and I have a number of cooking club members tuned in, and a very special hello to all of you. But for those of you that don't know me, I have been a professional chef for 12 years with my own meal delivery service and catering service and a restaurant. I decided a couple of years ago to start a virtual cooking club, which is really an online culinary school for home cooks with live and recorded content. To date, we have about 200 lessons in the club, maybe a little bit more, and it's climbing because we add to the content all the time. And we cover everything from mise en place to deboning a chicken to basic and advanced baking skills to knife skills. Of course, knife skills. So it's a lot of fun, and running the cooking club is a perfect job for an obsessed recipe writer and cook and food lover like me. So we have to talk, we have a lot to cover tonight, and we will walk through the agenda in a few minutes. But first, I would like to introduce Maddie Jensen. Maddie is the buyer from Eversharp Kitchen Store. And Maddie, I'm going to put my earbud in so I can hear you.
Yeah.
And I can see you. Hi, welcome.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
And you're right in the store,
I'm
aren't
Maddie.
you?
I am. It's nice and quiet here. We're located in Northeast Minneapolis, right across the street from Norseman Distillery. And we're a small family-owned business. I've worked here since it opened 14 years ago. And we have the largest selection of Wusthof in America. Kind of can see that behind me. That's just some of it. We sharpen for walk-in people. We're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, but we also get in mail-in sharpening throughout the country. We actually just became Wustof's sharpener for the country. So on their website, they tell people to mail them to us. So that's been a big increase in sharpening. And we really, so I think on the slide we have is our pricing. When you come into our store, we have same day and next day pricing. And It's really easy. Same day sharpening generally takes about an hour, or you can do next day and pick them up the following day. And of course, I mean, we do get mail-in sharpening from South Minneapolis, but you can also mail them to us wherever you are, and we can get that sharpened for you. One of the other things about our store is we also, while knives are the focus, we get in great deals of pots and pans and different things. And so they're not something you're going to always find, like that one on the screen. That's $400 online. We have a couple left at $170. Those are kind of in-store finds that you never quite know what will be here, but they're pots and pans that we really like and are good quality. And then we also, while Woodstock is our main thing, we also have a wall full of Japanese knives, and that primarily is kikuichi. Those are handmade in Japan. We also have Miyabi and a little bit of global. We kind of focus on their sale items. And then again, the Woodstock wall is pretty cool. We carry all of their knives that they make. And this week we just got in, their limited edition $600 cook's knife, Santuko, and a super slicer. So show that real quick.
Ooh.
But yeah. Just in case you don't know what to buy, everything. And then as far as cutting boards,
but it's actually you.
Oh, I know. It's dangerous. I get to buy everything that I want to buy for myself, so my kitchen is quite well stocked.
I bet.
So,
I'm coming over.
Yeah, and then exactly. I kind of try to pare down and really focus on kind of the higher quality things that will last forever, which has helped. But cutting boards are kind of unique to our store. We carry their seconds from Epicurean. A lot of people are familiar with them. They're out of Superior. What a second means, let's say someone fell asleep and didn't notice they routed too deeply on this cutting board. It doesn't impact how it's going to work, but instead of paying $35, we have it for $20. So that kind of things, it's not going to impact how it works, but it might look a little different.
And you know, Maddie, I own probably 10 of those cutting boards that I bought from you. I had no idea they were seconds until you told me the other day. I just thought the pricing was really good.
I know. And we've always, and oftentimes it's like maybe overstock or like their logo isn't centered. They have very high standards, what it looks like. The juice groove ones are more noticeable, but what's funny is you can't even feel the difference. It just looks slightly different. But yeah.
And only if you put them side by side, probably, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And for me, I tuck them in the drawer, but we have quite a variety of different ones, and you never quite know what we'll have because we just take whatever they have available.
Okay. So I was going to mention, if you're wondering why I'm looking up, I can see Maddie on the screen. So I'm not ignoring anyone out there. I'm just looking at her while she's talking. So Maddie, I wanted to talk about how we met.
Yes. That was a really lucky coincidence. Thanks to, was it like the Star Tribune or something? But I got
thanks to your mother.
I know, my mom gave the best presents, and I got some of your meals delivered, and they were delicious. And I realized, I was like, okay, we went to your restaurant all the time. We love your food.
Oh, thank you. And it was really fun. Very beginning of our relationship, I got an email from Maddie saying, "Do your knives need sharpening?" And I was like, "Yeah," all the time. But it was so random. I had no idea. And your store has. Away. Yes, you are tucked away, and but you're such a find. So thank you for doing this tonight.
Have fun with it. Absolutely, this is fun.
Okay, so should I read through our agenda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark, can you put that up? Oh, one thing I wanted to mention too, make sure you put your name in the actual chat. There's a little button at the bottom of the website that will send me a direct message, but that's not the chat. So make sure you put it in the actual chat so that you can win your prizes, of course. Right, okay, so we have the agenda up. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover metal and ceramic knives. Maddie's going to take care of that, of course. What to look for when buying a knife. Maddie's also going to cover that. I might chime in on that a little bit.
Exactly.
Maintenance and care of knives and cutting boards, what you should cut on and maybe what you shouldn't cut on. Basic shapes and specialty knives. Essential knife skills, I'll be handling that, and some quick cuts I want to show you. And then we're going to do a little special offer for the Bonicelli Cooking Club. And then we'll go to Q&A. And we are collecting questions now. So please put your questions into the chat and they will get to me. Mary, who happens to be my sister, is collecting everything in the chat. So please, if you have questions about anything, put them in the chat and she will send them to me and we'll answer them during the Q&A. Okay? And then finally, we'll award all of the prizes, all 30 of them. And of course, that's worth staying on for. Okay, perfect. So, Maddie, what do
Yes.
you know about metal and ceramic knives?
Well, we've learned a lot more about ceramic knives the past 4 or 5 years that we were selling Karasawa ceramic knives. So that's going to be the main knife company out there that makes them. They do look like plastic knives, so we keep them not out for kind of everybody to grab because you'd be surprised at how many people grab it thinking it's a plastic knife. They're super sharp. Um,
Well,
so that they're
I love that.
for me, yeah, exactly. And so metal is kind of what more people are going to be familiar with. This is kind of this is actually one of our prizes tonight, but that's the 7-inch Santoku from Mustaf. Um, for me, most of my knives are going to be metal. They can do a little bit more cutting squash, going through a little bit harder things. Those are going to be what they're for. Ceramic, if you think about it, lightweight, great for lemons, limes, tomatoes, kind of things that are not going to get hit by like a pit or anything. And if you understand the best uses for it, then they're an excellent choice. Usually, customers that don't love them didn't know they're not for cutting frozen food or squash, that kind of thing. We fix all the time. We do sharpen lots of ceramic knives. We're Karasawa's knife sharpener for the country. So it's kind of fun. We get to see a lot of different ranges of care coming in, and we can sharpen all of those. For me, metal knife, Germany and Japan, kind of the standard where they come out of that are going to be best known. And you'll see like this kind, that's a Santoku. You'll see Damascus knives, kind of that wavy pattern on them. The trick with that, less expensive knives, you're going to hear the word Damascus clad. That means it's printed on and it's not really Damascus, or it's like 2 layers. True Damascus ranges from 40 to thousands, and you'll see the price difference as you get to more layers. But for me, definitely your main knives, you have a set of metal knives and maybe 1 or 2 ceramic knives, depending on what you want.
Can I back you up for a second and just talk
Absolutely.
about fixing a knife? Because you saved one of my knives. So just let us know what can be done.
A lot. We kind of say it always looks worse than it appears. Often, maybe your partner used the knife as a screwdriver and you lost the tip. We repoint knives all the time. Frozen food, frozen sausages are actually one of the biggest reasons knives come in with chips in them. Generally, I would say you wouldn't notice a big blade repair on a chef's knife if we're talking like dime size or smaller. We can fix larger chips, but it might be a little bit of a different shape of a knife. If you like the knife, if it's good quality, always worth fixing or seeing what can happen. We can do a lot more than you'd expect.
So I have a story. I have a Shun Santoku.
Yep.
Santoku.
Yep.
And it got chipped really badly. And I was thinking I was going to throw the knife away. And I accidentally brought it to your store with all of my other knives. And they sharpened it and it was done. Perfect. I was shocking. So yeah, it's always worth to bringing them in and getting an expert opinion.
And It's not that much. So generally blade repair is $5. Occasionally, so like let's say your friend tried to sharpen your knives and they took off all the serrations on a bread knife. When we have to reserrate a bread knife, that's more expensive because we're doing it tooth by tooth. But your average, not crazy issues, just $5 extra.
Okay. Well, can we move on to what to look for in
Absolutely.
buying a knife? Okay.
Yeah. So when you're buying a new knife, really everybody has such strong opinions. At the end of the day, it has to be comfortable in your hand. If it's not comfortable, it doesn't matter how great of a knife it is. Uh, Generally, so picture we get a lot of times, you can look online. We get so many people that go on our website, but then end up calling us to walk them through because you can't tell, is this knife heavier than this one or how does it fit in your hand? So it really is important about the feel of it. Generally speaking, great knives come out of Germany and Japan. German knives are going to be a thicker blade. So those are going to be more ideal for like squash, cutting cheeses, kind of harder things. You don't have to baby it as much. A Japanese knife is going to be a lot thinner. So really nice for like precision cuts. I have this black Miyabi at home and I would not take this near a squash, but I love it for doing a stir fry and chopping up smaller precision sliced vegetables. And that's, I mean, I think, have you ever like buying a gift? It's really impossible to pick out a knife without a little
Uh,
input from the person.
I lived that years ago. Mark bought me a knife and a beautiful, I think it was a Shun. And
Yes,
a couple of months later, that was for my birthday, I bought him a knife. So he uses the knife that he bought. I use the knife that I bought. It's that
exactly.
personal.
Hmm. And that's, great knives. Like, so Wusthof, they're going to be a pretty well known brand. There's different levels of a knife. So there's stamp blades, which is like this. So what's hard when you're buying online or just looking at a picture is these handles look really similar. But this is a stamp blade. So it's cut out of a sheet of metal. So it's not a bad knife, but it doesn't compare to a forged knife.
Tell us a
And so
little
we
bit
kind
about
of focus, yeah,
not to overtalk, but
yeah, no,
finish your thought and then I'll give you my question.
yeah. So it's not that this is bad, but you're going to notice a huge difference in edge retention and also the weight of the knife. Because when you think about it, it's getting pounded down from that thick of a piece of metal. So you will notice a pretty big difference.
So tell us what it's like given COVID-19 right now. What is it like to go to Eversharp and want to buy a knife?
It looks different. We still are hands on. But before, I mean, if you've ever been here, it was a small location to begin with. And now we've made it even smaller, but a lot safer. So customers come in and it's a smaller kind of built in area. Um, we made the display fixtures. So we have all of our sale items. And then we have two sale windows. And so we will show and bring you any knife that you want to look at. We also do personal shopping too if you want to do it after hours. But it is a personal choice. So if you know you're looking for a lighter knife, we will just bring you as many knives as you want to see, and we'll let you hold them and test them out. Whereas before, you could just walk around and just grab everything yourself. So it's the same idea, just a little bit more hands-on support from us.
I think it's very boutique. And I wonder,
Exactly.
when we're through all of this, what piece of that you'll keep because it's very controlled
Yeah,
and it feels
exactly.
like,
And
like you have that opportunity to get great recommendations on anything you want.
exactly. And then that's the nice, we don't ever want someone to feel rushed. Truly, because it's a huge choice and it can be overwhelming when you walk in and you see a wall full of knives and you don't know anything about them and you're like, where do I begin? Or do I need every single one of those? You definitely don't. We want to help you find exactly what you're looking for. And that really does vary from not only just your budget, but how much you're cooking. Do you want a heavier knife Or we say don't dishwasher knives, but if you're going to, I'm not going to recommend that you buy a wood handled knife. That's just not a great idea.
Yes, never dishwasher a knife.
No,
You heard it here. Don't
exactly.
do it.
We get we get phone calls, people arguing with their spouse, can I put them in the dishwasher or not? And depending on their stance, whoever called, I get a happy response or a silent okay.
They want you to back them up.
They do. They
Absolutely.
definitely do. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's a good point. Let's move on to maintenance and care of
Yeah,
knives.
absolutely. So the biggest thing is I've seen so many packages that say dishwasher safe. If you care about something, don't dishwasher it. It's just from the heat temperature change, you can have some handle issues depending on the knife, but also the chemicals that are used to get food off of your plates are pretty harsh, and it's just not gonna hold up very well with your knives. So take that extra little time, and you'll be way happier with your investment in cutlery. And then also, don't just throw knives loose in a drawer. The biggest thing is actually not about your knives. It's just not safe. Hopefully your knives are sharp and you don't want to just reach your hand in and see what's there. So there's like knife blocks, there's in drawer trays. You don't have to buy anything fancy to do it. You just want something that is going to keep your investment safe and your hands safe. Because that's really, knife skills really comes down to safety and making sure you get the best outcome, but also keeping your fingers intact.
Right. Safety and precision. We
Exactly.
have a video of you sharpening, not you personally, but
Yeah,
Eversharp sharpening. Can we show that now? Okay.
absolutely.
I love this video.
Yeah. We get spoiled. We see this all the time. And so that system is a custom built system that a sharpener out of California assembles and makes. And that's what we sharpen metal knives on. We have a whole different system for ceramic knives.
Well, I always heard that you couldn't sharpen a ceramic knife or a
You know,
serrated knife. Two myths
yes.
busted tonight.
And I will say they're definitely harder to sharpen, but the equipment we have for ceramic knives is actually what Karasawa uses in their factories. And everything we did before, we're like, it's a good edge. But when we got this equipment, slicing through paper, it is so effortless. And then serrated knives, you don't need to sharpen as often. They should come in every couple of times that you need to get your knife sharpened, but we do have to sharpen them tooth by tooth. So it's a little different concept.
On that machine.
On that machine, there's parts of it, but really it's actually a diamond file. And we're going through different teeth because manufacturers they don't keep anything the same. So every company has different tooth sizes, if you will, for serrated knives, and it all varies from knife to knife.
Okay. Let's move on to cutting boards.
Yeah,
What should
absolutely.
you and shouldn't you cut on?
You do not want to cut on glass or those Corian countertops that you get like the cutout of your sink. Don't ever use that for cutting on. If you think about it, you want to cut on something that has give. So if you can't scratch what you're cutting into, that's too hard for your knife edge. And that's going to be usually the biggest reason your knife goes dull quickly.
That
And so
makes a lot of
that's,
sense.
yeah, Epicurean is going to be the best of both worlds. This can actually go in the dishwasher. It's heat resistant up to 350, so you can put pots and pans on it. You get the benefits of wood, but you don't have to baby it like wood. You don't have to oil it or do anything care wise. So that's nice.
Right. Like I said, I own 11 of those or 12.
Yeah,
And uh, they're wonderful and they come in great sizes. So I
absolutely.
frequently use them, like a small one for cheese, chopping herbs, so I don't have to invade my larger cutting boards, that type of thing.
Exactly. Way
And they're
easier to
also
clean up too.
NSF.
Absolutely. Yes, they are.
Yeah, which
And
is
that's
it was
rare.
really surprising to see something
Yeah.
because you can't use a wood cutting board in Minnesota in a restaurant, but you can use these. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's
Okay,
the
what's next?
surprising difference.
It is really
The
surprising.
basic,
And it's so cool that it's a Duluth company.
it is. And they started off making skateboard ramps. So if you think that material is very durable, they got creative, realized it was a great cutting board material, and rolled with it. And I saw them
How
in France.
how would they ever
They're
make that leap? That's great.
I think they gave out scraps as gifts to family members, and I don't know, but whoever did that was a genius.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, let's move on to basic shape and specialty
Yeah.
shapes.
So your basic shapes, it's hard. So you see this wall behind me? You do not need to buy every single knife to cover things. A basic shape is going to be a paring knife. A paring knife, there's a lot of specialty paring knives, but your standard one is just going to be like a 3.5 inch, just your normal kind of size. Then another common one is a bread knife. A bread knife is going to be serrated. That's going to be for anything with skin and a soft inside. So for breads, tomatoes, lemons, limes, they obviously make a smaller version of that for those things too. But kind of a serrated is a nice one. Of course, our standard chef's knife, that's always a good kind of go-to. And then really from there, it's what do you cook a lot of? If we have customers that debone chicken and meat all the time, well, maybe in your toolbox, we're going to need a boning knife. But for me, my kind of fourth specialty knife comes back to the Santoku. I use that shape all the time for veggies and kind of thin slices. And that's where it's hard. There's not a unique answer because it varies.
And I think that knife is great
Mm-hmm.
because, with a typical chef's knife, and I'm going to show you a video in a little while, you have to have that rocking kind of motion to it where it is up and down is a little bit easier and a little more precise. So I think that's why they're
Absolutely.
so popular.
Yeah.
Also,
It's a very intuitive moment.
can you talk a little bit about why there are dimples on these knives?
Absolutely. So when you see dimples on a knife, you'll see it from a carving knife to paring knives. It's, I think, more useful on the larger sizes of knives, but it creates air pockets so things glide through it a little easier. One thing I've really noticed is actually slicing cheeses with this. It helps them not crumble apart. You can also notice that with meat, when you're carving meat, you can just get a nice thin slice with it. It doesn't impact how we sharpen it. So we have people that are halfway through their circles and it still works fine. It's just kind of a helpful tool. You'll also, that concept is applied to some Damascus ones that have like a hammer pattern on the blade. It's that same idea.
Okay, I'm a little out of order here, but
Sure,
I did want to talk about using a steel or a hone. Can you talk?
absolutely.
And then we have a little video of that. So
Yeah. So you do want to match your honing steel to the hardness of your knives. So there is a little bit of thought behind you kind of want to buy your manufacturer's honing steel. That being said, Japanese knives don't generally come with a rod because they're way harder than most metal, and we would recommend then just using like a ceramic rod. And so ceramic rods are going to be generally white. They're kind of a finer grit. So there's lots of varying diamond, ceramic, that kind of thing, but it's the biggest tool and it's going to help your knives stay sharp so much longer.
right, and it's not to sharpen your knives.
No, I think
Right.
they've gotten better. They used to on the boxes call it a sharpening rod, and that's just hard to understand why it didn't sharpen your knife. What it does is it takes the burrs that are on the edge of your knife and it straightens them out. So it just helps prolong your sharp edge.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a little video, and this video is actually from the cooking club. It's not up in
Yeah.
the cooking club yet, but it's what we call a quick win, and this is about using a steel. Mark, you all set? Okay. Hi there, Cooking Club members. This is a quick win video about how to use a honing steel, sometimes called a honing rod or just a hone or steel. If you own a knife set, you probably have one of these sitting in your block or drawer, and you may not use it regularly or at all. A honing steel is never used in lieu of sharpening. It's used in addition to sharpening. Every time you use a knife, small bits of the edge can get knocked out of alignment, which means even a newly sharpened knife can act dull. Now, the way to fix this is to use your steel. If you steeled your knife and it's still dull, that means that you need to sharpen your knife. I either send my knives out to my favorite kitchen store, which if you are in the Twin Cities area is Eversharp Kitchen Store. They are located in Northeast Minneapolis. Or sometimes I sharpen them myself and I use a whetstone. Chef's Choice, by the way, also makes a very well-rated knife sharpener, and that is electric, and you can have that in your home. So there are two ways of using a honing steel, and for both of these techniques, you need to work from the heel of the blade to the tip and keep the angle at 15 to 20 degrees. 20 degrees is optimal. Now the first way is using your non-knife hand. Grip the steel and keep your fingers at all times, no matter how you're using this steel, keep them behind this guard. And then take your knife and, starting at the heel, pull it back using the entire length of the steel and the entire length of the blade, keeping in mind that 20-degree angle. 4 or 5 times on each side is perfect. Okay, the other way to do this, grab your steel like this, take your knife, same thing again. Entire length of the steel, entire length of the blade at 20 degrees. 4 or 5 times and you are good to go. You can use your steel on your knives as often as you need to. It's simply realigning the edge and it will keep your knife sharp. That's a quick win on how to use a honing steel. Thanks, everybody. And we're back. So I know for a fact that many people have steels in their drawer and they never touch them. Not even sure what they're there for. So let me ask you a question. How often, I was asked this today on WCCO, how often should you sharpen your knives?
So I say you should use your honing steel, which isn't sharpening it, every time just to get in the habit, and it's only a couple of swipes. Professionally sharpening it, there's a couple of factors. The quality of your knife does impact how often you need it sharpened. Once or twice a year is a general good ballpark. That being said, my favorite knife comes in quicker than, like, say, my carving knife. I don't use my carving knife as often. My Santoku comes in probably the soonest, just because that's 9 out of 10 times what I'm going to use.
Right. So really it's just based on your usage more than
Yep.
anything. Okay. Okay, let's move on to knife skills. And I'm not holding you back from saying anything, Maddie, am I?
No, that was perfect. That's the steel demonstration. I think people get intimidated and they watch cooking shows and it can be really elaborate. It doesn't need to be crazy. Just take your time, really slow, and it's not as hard as you make it out to be. So that was perfect.
I think that's exactly it, is that, you see chefs doing this
Yep.
whole thing, and whether or not their angle is right or whatever. In knife skills, speed is not important. It's showy, but it is not important. It's about safety and accuracy, right? I knew
Yeah,
you would
absolutely.
agree with me.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest. I mean, and that's we get people come in so intimidated by all of this, and it does not need to be scary.
Let's move on, since we were talking about knife skills. We have
Yeah.
a video on knife skills, another quick win from the Cooking Club. So let's play that, Mark. I think Mark's sleeping. Hey, Mark. There we go.
A lot of
It's
work.
coming. Hello Cooking Club members, I'm Chef Laura Bonicelli, and this quick win video is Knife Skills 101. Knife skills are truly the basis of being a good cook. It's important for safety because knives are and should be sharp, but also learning to cut uniformly and consistently will improve the quality of the food you make. Your vegetables will cook evenly and your dishes will be visually attractive. These are skills and habits that you need to learn, practice, and always use whenever you pick up a kitchen knife. Speed is not important. It's impressive, but that comes with time and practice. It is far more important to cut well with control safely than it is to be fast. So let's go through Knife Skills 101. The first thing you must do, and this is really, really important, is secure your board, okay? So you can see this can move around, which is dangerous. It can slide away from you. So what you want to do is either put, like I usually do, a silicone mat, a Silpat if you have one, under your board, which will keep it from moving. Or if you don't have that, you can take a damp towel and put that under your board like that. That board is not going anywhere. Okay, perfect. So now let's talk about gripping the knife. I see a lot of people holding a knife like this, which means it can kind of go anywhere that it wants to, and it's a loose grip, not good. It also can spin. If your hands are wet, you have oil on your hands, not safe. The right way to hold it, oh, one other thing I see is this. Don't do that, your fingers can slip off the top. So the right way to do this is take your index finger, place it midway up the blade, flip it over, put your thumb in front of the bolster, and wrap your fingers around like that. This is a nice, secure, very safe grip. It comes from your elbow all the way down through the tip of the knife, so you will have complete control in everything that you do. Okay, let's talk about your non-knife hand. Now, if I use my fingers like this, it's very easy, or would be very easy, to just cut yourself or cut your finger completely. Oh, very dangerous. Anyway, so what you want to do is pull your fingers back into a claw like this. Thumb goes inside, no fingertips are exposed. Then, when you're using your knife, running it through like that, the knife can literally bump up against your knuckles and you are completely safe. Now, as far as the motion of the knife itself, you always want to consider the fact that it has this nice curve, tip to heel, push forward, tip to heel, push forward. All of this takes a lot of getting used to. I know that, particularly for me, the claw grip, very difficult to get used to, especially when you're holding a vegetable. But this is safety, and once you get used to it, you're gonna love it. So, okay, let's try this with a piece of celery. As usual, we're gonna put the celery with the flat side down so it doesn't roll away. Got my claw grip here, tip to heel, tip to heel. My left hand is controlling the flow of the vegetable, therefore it's controlling the size of the cut. And notice how I'm just going through, pushing through, rocking that knife. Just like that. Okay, remember, practice makes perfect, and every time you pick up a knife, think through what you learned in this lesson. And that's our quick win, Knife Skills 101. Thanks, everybody. And we're back. One last thing I want to mention on that, when I say think through the lesson, but every time you pick up a knife, just take 1 second and remember that it's the sharpest thing in your kitchen. And that will get you into the habit of gripping it properly, and that will make it safe. Absolutely. So to that end, I thought I'd do just a couple of quick cuts, and I think we can go overhead for that. Is that going to work out, Mark? Okay. So I thought I would show you how I deal with an onion. So every vegetable has its own architecture, and onions have probably the most interesting one. So what I like to do is, first of all, it's peeled already, and then I cut it stem to end, straight down, like that. That way I can get the vegetable flat, and that's a definite goal. Anything round, you want to get flat if you can, unless you're doing like what we're going to be doing, a roll cut. But generally speaking, you want to get things flat any way that you can. Then I'll take my knife, and you can do this if you want to. I like to sometimes, depending on the thickness, you can do a vertical cut. If it's a bigger onion, you can do 2. And then I take my knife and use the tip to basically do small cuts like that. And this is going to be the size that I want, whether it's a small dice or a large dice or even a mince. And then using my claw grip, and this knife of course is more of an up and down motion, so we're not doing that chef knife thing. When I get to this point where it's getting pretty close to my fingers and there's nowhere to go, I flip it. And then I just do that and finish it off and then flip it back. And that's it. And then I have my onion and it's perfect. So let me just push this off to the side. I wanted to show you one of my favorite cuts for a carrot. And the problem with carrots, of course, is that they are not uniform. The reason you want your vegetable cuts to be uniform is so that everything cooks evenly and everything looks nice. So this is called a roll cut or an oblique cut. It used to be very, very popular. It's not so popular anymore, as fashionable. It's a French cut, but I love it because if you're doing a stew or something like that, it's a nice way to get through your carrots quickly. They look really pretty and they will cook evenly. So basically you're just taking your knife and doing an angle cut, and then you're rolling it and doing another cut. So you're rolling it 180 degrees, rolling it again, another cut, rolling it again, another cut, just like that. And because I'm at an angle, I do have some distance between my hand and the knife blade, just like that. I think that is so pretty. Okay, and that is it. What do you think of that, Maddie? Whoops, I have to put...
That's perfect. We would do that. It's kind of pre-COVID, at least. We would go to Costco and get the bags of celery or carrots for people to practice. And that's really the best way to kind of master those skills, is just keep doing them until you're comfortable with it. But then you don't have to think about it, and it's so much easier when you're cooking.
Right, exactly. Okay, what do we have next here? Let me just check my agenda. We have a lot of questions that have come in, so we're going to make the rest of this pretty quick. And I think we're basically on time. Okay. Oh, we have a special offer for the cooking club. So you're on the page. If you scroll down, there is an offer to join the cooking club, and it's basically this. If you join the cooking club either for $19 a month or an annual fee, which is 2 months discounted at $190, you get a whole bunch of prizes. And they are some of the prizes that we're giving away tonight, but they're all bundled in and you get them all. And the value of it is over $50. So cookbook, and the cookbook is my cookbook, the Holiday Survival Toolkit Cookbook. I did this last year for the cooking club, and we finally got it on sale online, and it's selling for $14.95. Has 30 of my favorite time-proven, family-tested recipes, cooking club-tested recipes, and we're going to be updating this year. So that is one of the prizes. Next, we have an apron. This is the official Bonicelli Cooking Club apron. It's very high quality. It's embroidered. It washes. It always looks like this, no matter how many times you wash it.
That's important.
So we have that, and we have a shopping list pad. Now that sounds like maybe that's not such a big deal, but there are 50 shopping lists, fillable shopping lists in here, and on the back there are measures. So you can do equivalents if you have to go from tablespoons to cups or something like that. But it's organized by store section, and it comes in really handy. I use this constantly, and so do cooking club members do as well. So that's coming with it as well. And then the last thing, and thank you Eversharp for this, is a gift card for 3 knives, totally sharpened, at Eversharp Kitchen Store in Northeast Minneapolis. And that's it. So that's the offer. It is available for 48 hours from now. So please sign up for the club. You can cancel at any time, and we would love to have you. And the very first thing that will happen if you do sign up for the club is you will get an email from me, and we will do a walkthrough of the entire website, and that will be live. By the way, if you want to see what's in the cooking club, there is a walkthrough, a tour in the menu on the side, and you can actually see what's inside of the cooking club. And that's it. So that's 48 hours from now, and please sign up. We would love to have you.
So
So
have a
that's my
ton of
pitch for
great
that. Let me put
resources.
this back in so I can hear you now again, Maddie. Okay, I think we are to the Q&A. You ready for that?
I sure am.
Okay, so Mary has sent me a whole bunch of emails. Okay, let's see. A lot of this is going to be for you, Maddie.
Okay, I can handle that.
What type and brand of knives are good for starting your quality knife collection?
I tend to lean towards Wusthof just because you can get a really great value. They have a great warranty, and with how we buy from them, if you come in the store, you can always find some really great deals on them. And a starter set generally is exactly like a cook's knife, a bread knife, and a paring knife. And I like that because that way you're starting out with the basics and you can really add from what you're getting. And so I do like the Wusthof, but again, you got to feel it from there because they have a bunch of different handles. So it's all about comfort after that as well.
What is the difference between a serrated knife and a bread knife?
Not a lot. So a bread knife is going to be generally that 8 inch, maybe to 10 inch range. A serrated knife also, though, can be like a 3.5 inch paring knife. So serrations are going to be this pretty much the same on all the different sizes. The smaller are going to be more for like fruits that you're going through. A bread knife is just going to be longer.
Okay, perfect. I have a great one here. My husband chipped our ceramic knife blade. Can I keep using it for cutting food, or should I just stab him with it?
We don't encourage violence, but definitely is fixable. Usually, what I kind of say, so all we can always fix it. It kind of depends. Your ceramic knife is going to be a lot different if we're talking more than like a dime size chip in it. If it's eraser size or smaller, you won't notice that there was any damage.
Okay, perfect. Okay, here's another one. What's a good chef night to cut meat for when I do events like birthdays, because I'm the chef for the person for the people in the house?
Sure. So for slicing meat, a carving knife is going to be pretty narrow, but if you're looking for like an all-purpose like slicing meat, maybe not deboning, but like cutting through your like slicing steaks or chicken breast, that kind of thing, I lean towards the Santuco. It's going to give you a nice thin cut and it's going to be pretty versatile, so you can use it for other parts of your meal as well.
Okay, perfect. What's a great knife to cut fruits with for making a fruit platter?
I like the smaller kind of they're starting to call it like a prep knife or an Asian utility knife. It's not gonna be super long. This is about 4.5 inches. So you're still gonna have a lot of control just because they're smaller things you're cutting, but it's so much easier than using a smaller paring knife. So I kind of like that. And then again, if you're gonna be cutting a lot of like kiwis or tomatoes in that part, I would maybe go towards a serrated one.
And you showed me a ceramic knife that I have to
Yeah.
have. Some of those little ones are just would be perfect too.
Oh, they would be. And that's that we even have a set. It's a probably about a 3 inch blade and it comes with a cutting board. And we call it the bartender set, but it's exactly for those kind of smaller jobs. And that's really where a ceramic knife shines, is for those kind of smaller, delicate items.
Okay. I should mention too, and I don't think we brought this up before, that you guys have like microplanes and plating
Absolutely.
tools and all kinds of things that really fill out a kitchen well.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, we actually get like the shopping list, if you will, for St. Paul Culinary School. So we stock everything that the students need.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but we even got like plating tips for cakes. We have a bunch of different wedges to make your food look really pretty, but then also food scales, zests, peelers, all that kind of stuff we get as well.
So you do the kits for the culinary school.
We get their shopping lists, and so usually you want to upgrade a little bit from the standard
Okay.
bookstore one, and so we get a lot of students in and kind of piecing together the kits.
You know, I enrolled my son in culinary school. It was not his thing. I think I wanted to enroll myself in culinary
Yeah,
school. But I had such fun taking all of his tools. So he
absolutely.
probably
I
had to go
bet
and
you
buy
did.
more.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
more
happens
questions.
definitely.
What is a great fillet or boning knife to fabricate fish?
Absolutely. So a fillet knife, you're gonna want to be flexible, and so let's see.
I love that you just have everything right there.
I know this is what like we are deciding should I do it at my house or here, and I'm not bringing this many knives home. Um, so a fillet knife is gonna look like this, and what that allows you is that kind of the bone notch there allows you to kind of go along and get nice thin cuts when you're doing fish, and then the thin tip allows you to kind of work into more delicate spots. So
Okay.
we have probably 7 or 8 different styles available.
And the flexibility of that knife is really wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Because,
and that's really the
yeah,
difference. You want something to pass some give.
okay, because one of the things I would use a knife like that for, completely not what it was designed for, but if I'm doing something like a butternut squash and I need to peel it, I'll run
Yeah,
that down the side,
absolutely.
and that flexibility allows you to do that, and it's better than using a
Yeah,
peeler. Okay,
yeah. Once you kind of get the skill of it,
so some of these I'm combining, everybody, I'm combining some of
sure.
these questions. So if we don't get them completely answered, we'll try and email. I can see who they're from, so we'll try and email you with
Yeah,
answers. We touched on this a little bit, but just reiterate, can you get the tips of your knives fixed?
absolutely. What we do, so and same with bent tips. We can't unbend a knife because steel has memory, so we repoint it. The same with a broken tip. We take it down from the top to keep as much length as possible. But we and if you have a different idea, we can work. People have different shapes they want the knife put into, but we can absolutely fix it. And often little bent tips you're not even going to notice happened.
So you're saying that you can actually change the shape of your knife if you want
Absolutely.
to. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Okay, I think I'll change them all.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
how can you tell a forged knife from a stamp knife?
So from a picture, what you're kind of looking for, although it's hard because actually really inexpensive knives make it look forged, but it's actually like glued on. So that makes it just a little harder for you. But up here, so a stamp blade is going to be cut out and you're not going to see um, any like poundings where it's thicker. A forged blade is going to have this, and that is truly the thickness of where it came from. And so when you're looking at kind of more well-known brands like Wusthof or even Zwilling, those are going to be if it's forged, it's actually forged. It's not pretend forged.
Some of these knife makers actually used to make swords for samurai, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they're
absolutely. Kikuichi um, is a over 700-year family-owned in Japan, and it's they just started making their order forms in English like 3 years ago. So before then, it was kind of a luck of the draw if I ordered the right thing or not. But they make amazing knives, and it's really they kind of follow the basics. They don't do anything too fancy, but they do what just beautifully, and they have more Western handles like this, but they have more traditional ones as well. And again, it's all about what feels comfortable.
okay. I have another question and this is an interesting one. What's a great knife for teaching someone with disabilities like I have, and he wants to study culinary arts?
It depends on if For mobility issues, I like the mincing knife. It allows for a really easy grip on the knife and a little bit less dexterity is needed. So a mincing knife is going to look like this. And that's a really good kind of all-purpose tool if you just want to rock and it doesn't require such fine detail. Otherwise, I'd start with kind of like a medium size, like Sanchuco, something not really too big that you can kind of practice getting control over.
I think that's a great answer. And again, it gets back to what works, right?
Exactly.
So
And
having
that's,
that experience of having it in your
yeah.
hand will help. Okay,
And that's
let's
the
talk
key.
about cutting boards for a second. Did you have more to say?
Oh, no.
No? Okay. I'm going to combine a few here. What are the Epicurean boards made of, and what about plastic boards?
Sure. So most plastic, there's some that's pretty hard, but plastic, if you can cut into it, is totally fine. It just doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like they're a little easier to cut into, so you might need to change them out a little bit quicker. Epicurean is made out of a wood composite, and so it's like pressed layers of wood together. Um, and it holds up. I've had mine, at least 8 years. They kind of get a darker color, but they hold up really well.
Yeah, and they show some of the cuts, but
Exactly, and that's
less.
good.
It's less than like a plastic board will start to almost
Yep,
bubble up, and the Epicurean
exactly.
don't do that.
Yep.
Okay, let me look again here. Okay, we covered this, but just depending on when people tuned
Yeah.
in. So when to use a honing steel, and do you sharpen honing steels?
So honing steels we don't sharpen. They last way longer than people expect. It's usually if you're having a problem with it, it just your knife needs to be sharpened. Um, we recommend using your honing steel every time you cook. It's just a good habit to get into, and you're only doing it 5 or 6 times, so it's not this like long drawn out process.
Okay. Um, how do you sharpen a porcelain knife?
Oh, sure. I'm thinking you probably mean ceramic.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
ceramic has to be sharpened on diamond. So it's a different process, but it's sharpened on diamond abrasives.
And here's a question of how do you grip other knives? I grip my knives just like I showed you, every single one of them. How about you, Maddie?
Exactly. It's so much safer. And so
Yeah.
I find once you get comfortable with this, it just becomes a habit and you don't even think about it. But it definitely takes a couple intentional uses of holding it like this, and then it's just second nature.
Yeah, and to have your fingers right on the blade, it just, the control is just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me keep looking here. What is the difference between a paring and turning knife?
Not really anything. So that's kind of, you're going to see companies call things different names and
Yeah.
it's the same thing, which doesn't make, same with chef's knife and a cook's knife. Those are the exact same thing. Companies just call it different things.
Okay, I'm just going to take a couple of more questions here because we're
Sure.
now getting a little late. Um, what do you do if the handle of your knife breaks?
There's not really anything we can do for a handle breaking. It depends on what happens. Sometimes it's a manufacturer warranty, depending on the knife company. Um, Melted handles are never covered under a warranty, but if you ever have a question, bring it in and we can happily help you kind of figure out, is this a warranty issue or do I have to live with it or that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. I'm getting more questions in. So, Maddie, if you can bear with me, I think we should just take
Absolutely.
them and then we'll announce the prizes. Obviously, people are still engaged. So,
Sure.
let's keep going, okay?
Absolutely. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So, what are your thoughts on full bolster, specifically for pinch grip?
I would say for pinch grip, I don't think it matters if it's so a full bolster. So this is not a full bolster. They take it off here. A full bolster is going to be like
And
this,
explain
where it
pinch
goes all the
grip
way.
too.
And a pinch grip is like this. So if you're holding it properly, I don't think there's a big difference. Where I think the benefit of a half bolster is if you plan on sharpening it at home with a stone. You're going to be able to get the whole length of the blade easier. That's going to be really the biggest difference.
Okay, should you always dry your knives after washing, and does detergent matter?
I don't think like for soap detergent, no, it doesn't matter. I tend to dry them or kind of pat dry them and then set them out on a towel. The biggest thing is you just don't want to leave them soaking. A good knife will still rust if you leave it overnight in water.
Okay, and again, dishwashers are not for knives.
No, you will just be so much happier not doing that.
Yeah, what I've seen is that they not only get dull, but they get weird. It's like it changes
They
the
do.
metal. Yeah.
It does. And it's kind of that's the fun part about sharpening is we get to see knives come in all ranges of care. And you can tell when it's been dishwashed and it's just harder on the handle and sometimes you get pitting spots. And
Right.
yeah.
Okay, well, this leads up to this. We don't have to answer this because you just did, but it says, Heidi says, I'm lazy. What really happens to my knives in the dishwasher? Well, now, Heidi, you know.
Yes. I will say I thought my
um,
coworker was just saying a myth that handles can melt in the dishwasher. And I'm like, that doesn't happen. But about once a month, someone comes in and their knife has fallen on their heating coil in the dishwasher and it will melt the handle. So
sure.
apparently that does actually happen.
Okay. What about Cutco knives? Are they good?
They're not bad knives. They're more expensive than their range. Like when you look at when America's Test Kitchen rates knives, those are never going to make the list, but they're priced at about the where the knives on that list are.
Another question, do you have any other good safety tips? Um, I would say my top one is that you have to think before you pick that knife up, and don't
Absolutely.
use it for other stuff. Don't
Yep.
open packages with it. Don't remove the
Exactly.
tops of cans. It's for that specific use. And that's where I think people get in trouble. The only time I've
Absolutely.
cut myself in the kitchen is I picked up someone else's knife. So they have the exact same knife. I'm used to a 6-inch chef. This was an 8-inch chef. And I sliced my finger because I didn't realize it wasn't my knife. So, you just have to be aware.
Yep.
And that time I wasn't.
That's really the biggest
So,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Take that second and just kind of your tools.
Okay, I've got a couple more. What's your favorite knife for cutting herbs? What's your favorite?
For herbs, I like the smaller Japanese blades that are really thin and precise.
Mm-hmm.
It just you can slice through it really easily and it's just the sharpness of it makes it go so quickly.
Totally. I agree with that. Sometimes I like, depending on if I'm doing volume, I do like a chef knife that I can rock just because I can get that motion
Exactly.
going and go through
And
it
that's
quickly.
I think the biggest difference is volume. If you're doing a small scale, you can go with those smaller knives. If you're doing a big project, that's just not practical.
What's a good knife for slicing homemade bacon? He's making homemade bacon. Go, Peter.
So it depends on what process you're in. I would for slicing meat and kind of getting lines, I like a curved boning knife or something that kind of is a thinner blade that you can allow for that. If you're kind of processing like kind of more almost ready to cook bacon, I would use a Santoon.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Oh, okay. Couple more. They just keep coming. Do
Yeah.
you use a hone before or after?
Whichever habit makes sense to you. Because
Yeah,
if you think
just
about
use
it,
it.
it's before is the next after. Yeah.
Right. I do before because that's part of my prepping.
Yep.
It's
Exactly. And it's
and the knife
whatever
is clean.
habit makes sense. That also makes a huge difference.
One is, will we be able to review this later? You will be sent a recording, so it's yours to keep, and you can watch all of it and anytime you want to. Is Eversharp going to run their usual Thanksgiving sharpening special?
We are not this year. So what we do is we have same day pricing and next day pricing. So you do save a little bit for next day. But with COVID and everybody cooking at home, we have
Yeah,
never been busier, and we're having a really, the mail-in sharpening is taking off. We've taken over half of our store as a sharpening section. So it's just, the volume is just too much to handle right now.
totally understandable. I mean, I think you're
Yeah.
right that people are really cooking at home.
It's great. It kind of, people are coming in, they've hardly ever cooked it, and now they're getting passionate and wanting to learn about things. So it's a great kind of positive on all of this.
Just give me a second here.
Yeah.
Oh, any suggestions on the best kitchen scissors?
For me, the biggest thing with a kitchen scissor is you want it to come apart. Um, if you're cutting food, you want to be able to clean it, and scissors just can't come apart, just aren't what you want to be cutting things with. Um, exactly. That's
Yeah.
the hands down thing. And then from there, I mean, Woodstock has a plastic, like black handled scissor. They're $20. There's metal ones if you want an all metal look. So it's again what the handles fit differently in your hand. Get something that's comfortable and just make sure they can come apart.
Perfect. Okay, I think we got through most everything. So should we go ahead and announce the winners?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to read right down. These are not going to be grouped by what they're winning. Okay,
Okay.
so Kevin Creel, who I believe was on the chat early while we were testing. Kevin, you got a sharpening card. Oh, and I should mention the way we're going to manage the sharpening cards is we're going to have a list at Eversharp. And so you just have to give them your name and they will check you off. And that way we don't have to mail out the cards and you won't run the risk of losing the card. So your name will be there and they'll keep the list and you just tell them. Okay, so Kevin, your 3 of your knives are going to be sharp. Howard Cuisto, K-U-U, Cuisto, shopping list pad. Katie Burns, sharpening card. Fiona Quick, Fiona, I know you. You're getting a holiday survival toolkit cookbook. Gina, Cooking Club member. Vitaly Rasinin. Sorry, I read that wrong. You're getting a sharpening card. Gina just moved to Minnesota, so she can come into Eversharp anytime she wants to.
Absolutely.
She's from where I'm from, northern Minnesota, Chisholm. Karen Heck, you're getting a cutting board. Kathy Coyle, sharpening card. Tammy Jo, I can't read that. Baltazar, great name. Shopping list pad. Doug and Wendy, I think we know who you are. Sharpening card. Jill Austin, Holiday Survival Toolkit Cookbook. Who was, I don't know how to say this, Jean? Someone can help me on that. Shopping list pad, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Lee Uglum, sharpening card. Kathleen Sullivan, apron. Kathleen, Sully, that's so cool. Doug Zimmerman, sharpening card. Kelly Ireland, apron. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble reading some of these. Kevin Olivey, cutting board. Callie Erede, Holiday Survival Toolkit Cookbook. Kim Knutson, sharpening card. Jenny Holtz, sharpening card. Kathy Haukadal, shopping list pad. Kathy is a Cooking Club member, a great Cooking Club member. They all are. Mary Ellen Scahn, apron. Susan Schroeder, cutting board. Molly Minarich, sharpening card. And anybody whose name I'm mispronouncing, I'm sorry. Maggie Arsdorf, shopping list pad. Susan Schrader, sharpening card. Katie Burns, cutting board. Heidi Fall, sharpening card. Wayne Peterson, shopping list pad. And Sandra Mark. Oh, this is great. Sandra, you are going to do a live one-on-one private cooking class with me. So you will be hearing from me. And then the knife, the Santoku knife. Colleen Hackensmith. Colleen is a friend of mine, so it's not rigged, but she has watched almost every video, been live with me on Facebook all the time that we're doing everything for the farmers market. So yay. Okay, I have to check here. We might have one more question. Oh, can you take one more, Maddie?
Absolutely.
Okay. Robin asks, is an olive cutting wood board hard on knives?
No, that would be totally fine. It doesn't dry out as quickly as other woods, so that's totally fine to cut on.
I bet it's beautiful too.
Yeah.
Olive wood is so gorgeous. Okay. Okay, we're cutting off the questions now. We're going to wrap it up. So a few things I wanted to mention before we sign off. First of all, I want to say thank you, Maddie. This has been amazing.
I had so much fun.
Mark, thank you for running all of the tech and getting all of our pictures up. Mary, my sister Mary, who has been running all of this flawlessly, got to see all the questions, got all the prizes awarded, so perfect. If you scroll down, there's the offer to join the cooking club. That's for 48 hours and you get special prizes for that. And if you click on that, it'll take you right to where you can sign up. Also, keep scrolling down. We are having a cook along or bake along croissant workshop. And that is in November the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. You can't sign up for it yet, but you can put it on your calendar and watch for it. We'll be announcing that soon. And then other things that are coming up in December, we will be doing an advent calendar, which is going to be really fun on the website where you can go and get all kinds of free stuff. So look for that. And the Holiday Survival Toolkit will have another live event, and that will be in December, and we will be announcing that too. And that is it. So this is for my grandson, if he's watching. And, oh, what, Mark?
The book.
Oh, the book. I knew there was something. We're producing a cookbook that's going to be available around Thanksgiving, and there it is. And what this is all of the recipes from the cooking that we did live on the Farmers Market Facebook page for the Silver Linings, which started right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then we cooked all the way through the summer. So the cookbook will have close to, if not over 100 recipes, all with pictures and all with cooking videos. And that will be coming out hopefully by Thanksgiving. That's what we're planning on. So that's a big announcement for us, and you'll hear more about that as well. So that is all I have. Maddie, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I'm excited for your cook.
Yeah, I'll give you one. You know, it's funny how something like that kind of a project can drive putting something together. When we started cooking, it was just like, well, the world is in such turmoil, and we wanted to do something that was a public service. And then all of a sudden we realized that, you know, we would get 1,000 to 2,000 people online watching. It became kind of a thing. It was really fun. Just like this. So we'll do this again, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This was a great time.
Okay, any questions that we didn't answer, you can find me through my website, and I'll get them to Maddie, and you will hear from us within a day with a recording of this whole presentation and more information on how to collect your prizes. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm Chef Laura Bonicelli signing off. Take care. Bye, Maddie.
Thank you. Have a great night. Bye.